When you look at the UK's social statistics for the last 40 years, some interesting trends become evident. Wage rise has been replaced by personal debt, property prices have skyrocketed, borne along by a capital gains bubble, and the public sector provision of housing has totally collapsed. Cumulatively, rising social inequality tells of how neoliberal economics has used debt and property to aggressively pursue wealth redistribution. For Londoners looking to rent, the worst shortage since the Second World War, fueled by an influx of international capital, has rendered the core of the city all but invisible. These factors hint at the problematic relationship between construction and finance, the impotent complicity of the architect, and show us how the dream of property ownership was progressively exchanged for usury. If we accept that capitalism is the most efficient way to distribute resources in society, what is it about the current models that produce such supply-driven conditions? Developers play with space, time, and money, seeking to produce the densest, cheapest, quickest solutions, driven by turning a quick profit. By contrast, Fulcrum's response to the housing shortage uses powerful financial algorithms to manipulate the parameter of time, using a bond mechanism to produce long-term, secure and stable profits, while addressing the spatio-economic inequality of the crisis. Let's take an example in the City of London. For any given site, there will be integral factors that predetermine the minimum volume of a viable construction. This is called surplus land value assessment. A developer will then work out how big a cut they can take, and if it is less than 20%, they rarely bother, and the site goes undeveloped. If developers were prepared to make gains over a longer period of time, the overall volume could be instantly reduced at no loss. As we adjust the duration of the bond, the rate of return and floor area, we can bring down the cost of rental without impacting on profits. The Section 106 figure to the left is a governance parameter measuring contribution to local welfare in exchange for added height. For comparison, the optimized form presented here is about 60 times more generous than the Shard. The ingot constitutes a social venture fund, generating 5.5% bond yield, while making a two-bedroom apartment affordable for those on the living wage. To satisfy the 106 component, local governance and residents have indicated priority of civic utilities, and we can simply project those statistics into floor area. However, even once the optimized form has been determined, residents' proportional obligation must be decided. This could mirror the tax code and burden the middle class, or be means-tested and force the elite to subsidize the less fortunate. At a closer scale, need and ability are reconciled through parametrically controlled but liberal floor planning. There are no apartments, only units of area, and this gives inhabitants the freedom to determine and divide their spaces as they desire and without undue interference. Growth is integrated into every aspect of the project, and even the gold-plated facade is intended to operate as a form of passive income. Cumulatively, the iconic silhouette of the ingot is neither whimsical nor arbitrary, but a product of form-following finance and an ethical addition to London's corporate skyline. The anonymous metropolitan, employed precariously, with relationships fleeting and pleasures half-hearted, anesthetizes their endemic angst through a cornucopia of consumption, orgiastic sport, and designer fads. These hedonistic pursuits may distract for a time, however they cannot mask the broader problem that agriculture, industry, manufacture and the financial sector are in chronic, perhaps irreversible decline. In a sense, the existential fears of the nation-state must be resolved through the lens of the individual. As the ingot multiplies, they form a shadow welfare state, dedicated to serving society's needs and the public good much better than today's feeble political managers. If we have the sensation of living in an era without time, without historical material progress, trapped in the nostalgic aesthetics of the past, it is because societal acceptance of centralized, institutionalized debt has guaranteed the impossibility of any meaningful social change. In this context, abandoning the social aspiration of property ownership could be liberating. Perhaps a life without debt is an asset in itself.